Hey friends, SGT here with a very important gold and silver update with our good friend Jeff Nielson of Bullion Bulls Canada. After a terrible precious metals week last week, thought it was important to get Jeff on to hold our hands just a little bit and to level set for us on where we're going in the long view. Jeff, welcome back.
Always nice to be here, Sean.
Well, it's always nice to have you, Jeff. What is your view sitting up in the slightly less insane Canada versus the United States, where I'm calling you from, as you see the cartel absolutely annihilate precious metals over the past week?
Well, I've really gotten past the point where these sorts of ambushes bother me a lot. And, I sort of trace it back to what I wrote in a commentary a couple of weeks ago, which I titled When Prices Have No Meaning. And it's basically presenting people with a mathematical paradox. And the concept that people have to wrap their heads around, is that as the system itself gets closer to the breaking point, rather than us seeing, precious metals surge upwards to telegraph that reality, we're probably going to see the exact opposite, that it's in fact going to be easier for the bankers to manipulate markets and create even more ridiculous fantasy prices as we get closer and closer to the breaking point. And to illustrate that, I think I can do so in a fairly simple anecdote. Just imagine if you're sitting there holding an ounce of gold in your hand and somebody walks up to you with a big wad of Monopoly money and says, how much do you want for that ounce of gold? Do you want 1,000 Monopoly dollars or 10,000 Monopoly dollars or 100,000 Monopoly dollars? And your reply is just going to be, well, that's nonsense because the paper's totally worthless, so it doesn't matter how much you give me. And so this is the point that people have to wrap their heads around with our own bankers' Monopoly money. As all of this money gets closer and closer to literally being worthless, the difference in value between a $10 bill and a $1,000 bill shrinks closer and closer. So, whether gold is priced at $1,000 an ounce or $10,000 an ounce, it becomes the same price. So it's like, the only significance to prices is that if the price goes down, it means you get even better rates swapping the worthless paper for the valuable metal.
Why don't you tell us about your other article you wrote this week called Paper Gold Fraud Now Out in the Open? I think the point that you're making, that I think Andy Hoffman has also been making recently, is the fact that these guys are not even camouflaging what they're doing anymore.
Jim Sinclair came out with a really good line. He said, you can't fix a broken economic system by attempting to break the thermometer, which measures the damage. And, of course, by that he was referring to the price of gold. And so, I was simply addressing this same point, but from a different perspective. The actions we're seeing telegraph pure desperation. And so, if it's not trying to confiscate the gold in India, now they're wanting to sell paper gold to the gold buyers in India to make those ounces of gold stretch a lot further than they would otherwise. And it's just so silly because, of course, when you publicly claim that you can make gold go further by selling it as paper gold, you're admitting that you're leveraging the gold. You're admitting fraud because, of course, if you sell paper gold and you don't back it with an ounce of gold for every ounce of paper gold, that's literally fraud.
Yeah, it is literally fraud. And, I think what's frustrating for folks is that no matter how informed you are about what's going on with our monetary system, and no matter how informed you are about the criminality of the banking cartel, they can still kind of kick the wind out of you when it just seems that it doesn't matter how informed people are. They're still going to beat us up because they control the market. They control the paper. They control the paradigm. So they are going to punish anybody who had the good sense to get into precious metals through these attacks, which seem endless. And I posted a piece last week from James Turk where he wanted to review his 2013 to 2015 projection for $8,000 gold and an 8,000 level on the Dow. And in the video, he said he now expects gold to go past $8,000. And he took a lot of heat in the comments section at SGT Report because people are so frustrated, and they're so frustrated with these sky-high projections. And so there was a lot of ire and anger coming out at James Turk. And the point I wanted to make as it relates to you and James Turk and Jim Sinclair and Andy Hoffman and Bix Weir and Chris Duane and anybody else who's been talking about this is that people's ire should be directed at the criminals who manipulate these markets, the banksters who toss hundreds of millions of ounces of paper silver and tens of millions of ounces of paper gold at these markets every single weak. I understand that the messenger, in this case James Turk, is taking heat, but if people listen to what he said, if people listen to what you're saying about the sham that is this monetary system, those who listen will prevail in the end. But I know how frustrating it is here in the meantime. It's awful.
Well, but the whole point is that James Turk is absolutely correct. The line that I like to use with my own audience on a regular basis is low prices lead to high prices. And again, we're not talking about people making quote-unquote predictions here. We're talking about simple relationships of arithmetic. When you drive the price down for any good, not only do you encourage rabid demand because you're giving it away, but you destroy the supply chain. This is the dynamic that people can't wrap their heads around, is that there's two aspects to this price manipulation. Low prices don't just simply get people to rush out there and buy more gold and silver, but it cripples the mining industry that has to produce the new supply. And so the inevitable result of driving the price down with an ambush like this isn't that the prices are going to bounce back to where it would have normally been 6 months from now, or a year from now, or 2 years from now. It's going to go even higher. And so when James Turk says he's revising upward his projections despite the downward trend we've been seeing, recently and somewhat over the last year or two, he's simply being logical and totally correct in his analysis. And of course, that's why he's fearless in doing so, because it's not a matter of making predictions. It's a matter of simply pointing out the arithmetic relationships involved.
Well said, Jeff. That was brilliantly recapped. Before I let you go, I've been meaning to do a video about this, but with the awful, horrific shootings in this country at Sandy Hook Elementary, I've been sidetracked on other reporting. But I want to share this with you, Jeff, just so people understand how substantially the paradigm has shifted. I am looking at the Wikipedia page on Canadian silver maples. And as a holder of Canadian silver maples from every single year of their issue, I can tell you, Jeff, and I know you know this, that back in 1988, they only made 1 million of them. In 1996, 97, they made a couple 100,000 of them. They never made much more than 1 million Canadian silver maples until 2006, Jeff. And in 2006, they made 2.4 million. And in 2007, 8, 9, it's just gone off the charts. In 2010, they made 17.7 million Canadian silver maples. And in 2011, they made 23.1 million silver maples. And my point is, Jeff, is that the awakening of people to the value of real money in physical form, be it silver or gold, is clear when you look at these charts.
Well, you might be giving me a little too much credit when you claim that I'm already aware of those numbers. I didn't realize that the rise was that spectacular myself. But, what it indicates is that we have two very distinct categories of people in our society. Because, of course, still there's only around 1% of the people in our society that are holding any precious metals at all. There's the two groups. There's those who would get it, and they're buying rapidly and accumulating rapidly. And there's those that still don't have a clue, and they've got none at all. And, people who want to be, part of the informed crowd, the people that have the chance to save themselves, still have a chance to act, but they have to pay attention to numbers like that and the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, they do. And because, the point of my video, had I had the chance to make it yet, and I kind of let the cat out of the bag, is that this is all a magician's trick. It's like going to Vegas and seeing this, fancy magician show where he makes the woman disappear and in her place is an elephant on stage. It looks convincing. It looks real. It looks like it actually happened, but it didn't. So when the bankers throw this endless paper at the market, sure, they're causing these paper prices to absolutely collapse. But guess what? In 2011, 23 million silver Canadian maples were sold by the Royal Canadian Mint. And before that, 18 million in 2010. The year before that, only 9 million. I mean, this thing is going off the charts. And the fact is that physical metals in physical form, in the real world, in the tangible world, once we move the magician's curtain out of our way, those physical metals are harder and harder and harder to come by. And one of these days, they're not going to be available at any paper price.
No, and this is something that people should keep in mind when they see prices falling right now and they think to themselves, well, gee, should I wait for even lower prices? The thing you have to realize, when prices crashed extremely low after the crash of '08, is it was extremely difficult to find any bullion around at that point in time. And should we encounter a similar event, at the beginning of 2013 or at some other point in time, rather than people having a chance to load up on cheap bullion, they may not be able to get anything at all. Prices are fabulous right now. It's Christmas time. Hand out people some 1 ounce silver coins, or if you're really feeling like Santa, 1 ounce gold coins, and give them some security and make yourself feel good at the same time.
Yeah, well said. And this will be the last probably video I produce here before the holidays. I think this is posting on Sunday night. So I want to wish you, Jeff, a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year if we don't talk.
Well, thank you, Sean, and the same to yourself and your entire audience.
And that's what I was going to say as well. You took the words right out of my mouth. Thanks so much to everybody who bothers to tune in time and time again and listen to the experts that I'm able to interview. I feel very privileged to be able to speak with people like Jeff, and I feel very privileged that people would take the time to tune in and to listen to what we're saying and to potentially share it with others, because I really do feel like the time is running short. All of us are surprised that this monetary system is held together as long as it has, but I think any of us paying attention who really truly understand the economics and the men behind the curtain, we know that this system is short on lifespan. So Merry Christmas to everybody, Happy New Year to everybody, and here's hoping to a somewhat positive and happy and healthful 2013.
All the best, Sean.
All right, Jeff, thanks. Take care of yourself.
You too.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Well, guys, that'll do it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please tune in to sgtreport.com for the very latest in alternative news, and check out thelibertymill.com. Real news 24/7. Thanks for watching.